Simon may just be listening. That's okay. And I see somebody by the name of Dot, which I think is actually hilarious. I don't know if you can hear me or if you want to speak, but yeah, welcome guys to the first exclusive Zoom meeting. We're gonna have some fun. I'll be answering your questions. We're gonna get to know each other. And yeah, it's anything goes here. You can ask anything you want. We can talk about anything you want. We can talk about the markets. We can see what's going on. I'm super excited to meet most of you here. Lawrence, I already know you from our one-on-one coaching, and I appreciate you. I think we have a coaching class coming up pretty soon as well. Simon says, yes, I can hear, but have no camera on this PC. That's fine, man. You can actually write messages as well. Your laptop crashed. Okay. Does your microphone work? If your microphone works so you can talk, if not, that's okay. Just go with the text messages there. It seems to be working. So we're just gonna wait a few minutes, see if anybody else joins here. Let me see if I can actually open the chat here so I can see. Yeah, there you go. That's better. So yeah, how is everybody doing? Obviously some people can't speak, but yeah, just waiting a little bit to see if anybody else joins. I do plan to do this monthly. So if you're a VIP Factor member, you can actually join monthly and we get to talk. I get to answer your questions. We'll get to interact and yeah, possibly try and add as much value as I possibly can in these calls. But since I also see Dot or writing to everybody, ... That's actually quite funny. It's genius. All right. So we are looking at the markets. We just had a massive drop. Let's get started. We had the massive drops in the market in Bitcoin. I think I can share my screen here because this is Zoom. So give me a second so we can actually look at something in the charts here. Let's see if I could share my screen. Yes, should be able to. All right, so you guys should be able to see my screen here. So we had this massive drop and we called it. We said about 49,000. We start going down, we go under 44. We're looking at 30,800 or so. And if we break that, we'll go lower to the 35K range, possibly even lower, even though I don't think it's probable. We do seem to have bottomed out here. This does look like it's setting up to be a bottoming formation. Some less conservative or more risky players can actually buy this dip. The correct time to buy this dip would be if you break 40K, which we have, maybe 41K, make it support, or at least make 40K support. Then that would be your buying with a stop loss under the prior wick. That said, this should close pretty soon. We should see this close today or tomorrow. Let's see how that goes. We are looking at the daily chart. If we look at the moving averages, if you want to be more conservative, of course, we have to break above these, and these have to break. These have to cross, sorry. That's a much higher buy. That would be around probably the 43,000 area, I would assume. But then after that, you got all the upside to the 44, 45, then, of course, 49K. I do believe we're going to go up. Are we going to drop first, further down, then go up? Possibly. But this 38,000, 0.83 is a perfect support level. As you can see, it was prior resistance over here. So I would personally get in. I did already buy some altcoins with Bitcoin. And I did put another $1,000 into the markets. Yes, I know it's not that much, could be more, but that's what I'm doing. That's what I see. That's what I'm doing right now. Let's see. Now, if we go to crypto bubbles, we can actually see what's going on with altcoins. And you can see we have a few ones standing out, that I said, that I called, that showed a lot of strength in the last dump. Pyth being one of them. Of course, Say looks like it's down, but I guess it's recovering. Let's have a look. Slowly recovering there. The hourly looks pretty strong. Like we are looking at some movements on altcoins. I think everyone's waiting for Bitcoin. Let Bitcoin lead. Let's follow. Then let's overtake him. And then when Bitcoin stops, we'll start running back, trying to catch up with Bitcoin. So that's basically what's going on with Bitcoin and altcoins. And I do see an altcoin season coming soon. It might be another mini one before the halving, and then after the halving, obviously, that's when the big one's going to partake. I do see CGBT. I bought more of this coin. I do think this is going to do very well. Of course, I bought more Solana. You guys know my views on Solana. And lately, I have been doing a lot of staking, which we can also talk about if you guys are interested in that, because staking does give you a lot of extra money. It does give you, it's, how can I put this? If APY by staking, if your APY is your interest rates in the bank, your staking, your airdrops would be your dividends, kind of. Okay, it's not exactly like that, but you could sort of see it that way. The thing is, a lot of people don't realize that these airdrops can be thousands or $10,000s of dollars. I mean, Say got airdropped to Cosmos and Atom holders. Same thing with Celestia. So now we're staking Celestia, we're staking Say in the hopes and anticipation of getting more airdrops. And believe me, I actually made thousands, not over 10,000. I think it was like something like $4,000 to $8,000 on 2 wallets just with Uniswap alone, back in the day. And they're quite lucrative. So if you are holding for 2024, you might think to yourself, okay, staking for APY, that's 4%, 8%, whatever, why risk it? But if you're staking for airdrops within 2024, you can actually receive a lot of airdrops that can go a lot higher and be worth a lot more than the APY, which is what I'm doing on certain coins. Now, that said, why am I saying staking in 2024 and not 2025? Probably because I'll be exiting most of my staking positions and positions slowly starting by the end of 2024. Why? I do see a possibility, and it's not 100%, don't go crazy right now, but I do see a possibility we're going to have a shorter bull run, and it may end towards the end of 2024, beginning 2025. So what I will personally be doing is taking profits, maybe half of my positions by the end of 2024, and then obviously I'll keep for 2025 and slowly sell on the way up, always having a bag left over. Once the dump happens, stop buying, you stop buying the dips, and you have that bag left over as an anti-FOMO position, and that usually rails over to the next bull market, but your bulk of profits have come. So that's the safest way to play it. Now, of course, you can risk certain cryptocurrencies. There are other plays you can do. There are ups and downs, so we can talk about that when that time comes. I'm talking a generalization here of everything together. Now, I just started talking and put everything together sort of like a Greek salad with feta cheese and cucumbers and tomato and onions, and you may have questions, you may be a little bit confused. I just wanted to give you an overview. I don't see anybody else joining, so it's the 4 of us. So if you have any questions, please voice them or put them in the chat, and I will answer them as best as I can. If you don't have questions, then I don't know. Let's do something fun. So if you have any questions, go ahead, put them in the chat. If you want me to elaborate on certain things, go ahead. It's your chance to ask me one-on-one here. It's almost like we only have 4 people, 3 people, if you take me out, which means I can literally make this kind of like a one-on-one coaching for you, for everybody on the stream right now. So it's actually a big plus. Okay. Couple of good questions here. Good, awesome. So number 1, what is your price prediction for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana? Excellent question. Okay, for Bitcoin, so if you watch my channel, you should know by now that I work in ranges. So what I do is I base conservative ranges for profit taking, expecting a pullback, but then reevaluating if it's going to go higher. That's how I usually get the tops and bottoms, and that's how we get out and make profits, okay? So my first range for Bitcoin is actually 84,000 to 140,000. Now, just to be clear, I see the higher end of that, but I have to be conservative because that's just my strategy. Okay, so I'm looking at 84 to 140,000 as my first range. So profit taken should be maybe a little bit at 80,000, depending, most of it around the 100,000 mark, 140,000 mark. That's my first range. Now, I never completely get out. I will probably take 50, 60%. I always hold Bitcoin long-term anyway. That's a whole separate thing, a whole separate account. And then what happens is once that range becomes support, I'll look for bottom patterns to rebuy. Because if Bitcoin breaks 140,000, I'm looking at 200,000 as probably my top bull market pick price for Bitcoin. Okay, can it go higher? Sure, of course, yes. But my bulk of Bitcoin will be sold around that level. Like whatever's left, I might rebuy once we make 140 support, like take profits, rebuy, depending if I think we'll go higher. Once we go higher, that's when I'm probably getting out, except for my long-term position on Bitcoin, because I always hold Bitcoin. I'm a semi-Bitcoin maximalist. I'm not a maximalist. I love altcoins. I love the tech. I love this. I love that. But I do believe that Bitcoin is or has sound hard money principles, and I do think that that should be our mission, is to get more Bitcoin as much as possible. Don't know what you guys are drinking. I'm drinking soda water. Since I do this in my live streams, I'll do it here as well. Oh, there's no autofocus here. Okay, so just soda water, in case you're watering. Not that it matters, not that you care. It's just water with bubbles, but yeah. As for Ethereum, if I go by the first target of 100 and 140K level to then reevaluate, I'm looking at Ethereum at around $8,000 to $10,000 by the end of the bull market. Now, a lot of people think that Ethereum won't have the volume it expected to have, and this and that. The bull market is not going anywhere without Ethereum. We need Ethereum. Ethereum's a key player. The most of dApps are built on Ethereum. It's going nowhere. It's going to be upgraded. It's part of the bull market. So Ethereum, I'm looking at, I'm bullish. I believe it's lagging. I believe it's going to surprise a lot of people. It usually happens because smart money goes to the people holding, money goes to the people that are, how can I put this, not going with the herd, if you will. So while everyone's suddenly running to Solana, suddenly running here, suddenly running there, Ethereum's going to surprise us. And the layer twos on Ethereum will also start moving a lot more. That's when we'll see a real bull market in my, crypto alt season, in my opinion. As for Solana, that's my first target, 8 to 10,000. If Bitcoin goes to 200,000, maybe around $14,000 for Ethereum, give or take. Looking at, and of course, we always reevaluate, see if it can go higher, see what the best thing we can do, see our risk tolerance at that point. Because if you think about it, let me explain this. A lot of people don't understand this concept, and it bothers me. If I have a coin that 10x's, like Solana 10x'd, okay? It went from $10 to $100, just saying. And you're waiting for another 100x. Why would you risk all those profits for another 2x? It doesn't make sense to me. Yes, obviously more is better, but you have to look at risk tolerance at this point, right? And if it's worth the risk. That's why I always reevaluate and see where I think it's going to go. Because if I look at Bitcoin at 140,000, I think it's going to go to 160. Why buy it for another 20,000 unless you go leverage, unless you go long when it comes to futures or something like that? Doesn't really make sense, in my opinion. Okay. Now, as for Solana, I'm looking at probably around $600 to $900. Let's say $700 to $900. It can possibly get to 1,000, but let's just focus on the range before that, then reevaluate, see where to take profit, see what to do, see what makes sense, and then we'll take it from there, if that makes sense. So, by the way, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, my largest positions, those I am extremely bullish on. I believe they will give very good profits, more conservative. Maybe they won't do those crazy altcoin 10, 20, 30x's, but it's enough. Right? It's enough. So if you are playing conservative, if you want to be conservative, not degen and go for massive profits on other coins, or you need to have a bulk portfolio that's safer, quotation marks, if you will, those are the three cryptocurrencies I'd be looking at. And those are less dangerous to hold long term, because if we have a dive or if everything goes wrong, or even if you enter a bear market, they're the ones with the most chances to come back. So you can at least make your money back, if that makes sense, or have the same valuation to them, if that makes sense. All right. As for Bitcoin, if it starts moving before altcoins, yes, but it's hard to see. And let me explain what I mean. Usually, starts with Bitcoin, goes to layer ones, goes to other altcoins. So high caps, mid caps, low caps, but it can be a bit of a mix and it can be a bit deceiving, because it's not just about how Bitcoin moves or first, or how much it moves by, it's the range it's in. So a lot of times Bitcoin might move 2-3%, didn't really move a lot, so you don't notice it because it's in a range, and it's in the lower range, let's say what it is in now. But because it's going sideways, that gives rooms for altcoins to run. So they start running, even though Bitcoin moved first, you don't really see it. I don't know if that makes sense. What we used to do is look at the Bitcoin Ethereum pair and see when Ethereum started outperforming Bitcoin, that's when alt season or altcoin started to run. But if you remember a few months ago, when I called a mini alt season and see if it becomes a full alt season, I did it looking at the Bitcoin Solana pair because I saw the narrative shift. Now, it should shift back to Ethereum sooner or later, but that's what you really want to be looking at. Does that make sense? Where can you do staking? Okay, Lawrence, there's different ways to do staking. If you want to do staking safely and just get the APY, the easiest way is to do it in your hard wallet, your ledger, or do it on Exodus.io, but that does not give you the airdrops. If you want to get airdrops, you need to stake in the native wallet of that chain and its staking platform. So the easiest one is the Cosmos Atom chain. And I'm becoming even more and more bullish as this goes on, because Cosmos Atom is just easy to use. It's fast. It's the most fun. It's the most, how can I put this? It's just, everything's there. So what you would do is you would download a Kepler wallet. For example, it's like MetaMask, but it's called Kepler. And it would be in your browser, in your Chrome browser, for example. And then what you do is you literally, you have your Atom, and then you have different chains, just like you do in your MetaMask. You'll have your Binance and so on. But everything within Atom is within that wallet. So you can hold your Osmos there, you can hold your Celestia there, not Celestia, sorry, your injective protocol there, you can hold different things there. But what you do is you stick within the wallet. So there's a little like tab that says manage your portfolio. You click it, it brings up your whole thing on desktop. You see the different chains, and then you can just stake to any one of those chains. You just go with any validator you want. It's very easy. As a matter of fact, I have a video that I released yesterday or the day before, actually showing this step by step how to do it. So Lawrence, if you have the time, watch that video. I think it's called, give me a second, let me see what it's called. I'm doing another one today, by the way. After this meeting, I'm actually releasing a video on YouTube on staking again, because I just think it's very good. And a lot of people don't look at these videos. It didn't get a lot of views, but it's unfortunate because there's a lot of money to be made. Okay, it's the ultimate crypto airdrop video you must see in 2024. So that's the title. That's probably why I didn't do that well. I actually changed the title now, trying to make it do better. But this video is gold. I really think, I really, how can I put this? This is financial advice. Watch that video, right? If that makes sense. Watch that video, it'll explain everything. And then if you have more questions, just comment down below that video. I'll probably we can talk about it next time, or maybe we can do it in our coaching, or maybe I'll make an extra video and just put it out on YouTube. We'll see. Okay. But make sure you watch that video. Make sure you watch the video I'm going to put out today on airdrops as well, right after our meeting. Why do I believe in a shortened cycle? How will the Bitcoin ETF affect rotation of the money into alts? Usually Bitcoin profits trickle into alts, but yeah, okay. So here's what's going on, okay? Let me answer. This is a few questions in one, and one of the parts of this question actually answers your question. So why do I believe in a shortened cycle? Well, it's very simple. one of the reasons, there's a few reasons, but one of the reasons is the Bitcoin ETF. See, up to now, we have correlated and decorrelated from the stock market with Bitcoin. I mean, I kept on saying we're going to decouple of it, and we did, and that's how we predicted it going up when everyone was saying it's going to go down. The issue is, at least for short term, as more institutions, as more hedge funds, and as more money managers get into the ETF, the narrative that's going to be on the ETF is going to control Bitcoin. So the stock market cycles will spill more through the Bitcoin crypto cycle. So it will be more correlated, at least in the short term, in my opinion, right? So because of the ETF, because everyone's going to be buying and selling the ETF. So if the stock market, NASDAQ, takes a dive, then it just makes sense until Bitcoin decouples again, there is a possibility that so will Bitcoin. Because I don't think that people, and we don't know this for sure, but I don't think that the people in stock markets and ETF will see Bitcoin as the hedge or gold narrative, or they're going to get scared and spooked fast, more emotion because not used to it. So they're probably going to see it more like a high-risk asset until they do their first or second cycle, then they start seeing how Bitcoin works and the magic of Bitcoin. So if we have a dump in the stock market, we're probably going to have a dump in the Bitcoin market and the crypto market. So why is this relevant? Well, there is a chance, in my analysis at least, and a few other people, that the stock market's going to take a huge dive in 2024, towards the end of 2024. Now, I know what you're going to say. It's an election year, blah, blah, blah. Yes. But there's a few things that are going on that people have mixed up. Number one, there may be a chance they're going to stop raising interest rates. They might even take interest rates away completely. Now, up till now, you've been hearing everybody tell you that when they raise interest rates, money doesn't come in and the stock market and crypto goes down. But if you look historically, it's vice versa. It's when there's zero interest rates, it's right before the crash, and that's when everything starts going down. Now, it doesn't happen every single time, but it happens enough for that to be a probability. So it just makes sense that most people will get wrecked, and that's one of the things that can happen. Now, that said, we're also looking at printing of money, this, that, whatever. After the elections, yes, the crypto markets will get a boost and the stock market will get a boost if Trump wins, for example. But soon after that, I'm expecting a crash. And don't tell me it never happens. It hasn't happened before, because it has, right? So I'm expecting a spike and dump, maybe, possibly. And if you look at that theory with the other one I just mentioned, that's also possible. So the third thing is, just like I called the Bitcoin bottom, it's the perfect sweet spot to get everybody wrecked, amateurs and pros alike. Because markets have a way of, sorry for my language, fucking everyone up. So when we were going down, and I said if we passed to under 20K, we're going to 15 to 17K, and I called 15.6K. 15.6K was the sweet spot that got pros wrecked that were expecting 12 to 10K with their thesis, because the thesis was valid, but also the more amateurs that were expecting 20K because they were more conservative. They believed in the Bitcoin never goes down below the previous high. So the 15.6K was perfect for that. 17K was a Fibonacci thing. If it usually goes a little bit further because it surprised everybody, it was just a whole bunch of calculations. It was a lucky guess. 15.6K was a lucky guess, valid lucky guess with certain factors, but 17K was the range. So I nailed the 15 to 17K bottom, but the 15.6K was pretty lucky. I just looked like a genius. Right? But let's be honest, it was that range, and that was a guess within the range. So the same thing's going to happen in markets. Everyone gets wrecked. So the markets have a way of getting everyone wrecked. And imagine a shorter imagine the FOMO, everyone's going crazy. By the end of 2024, after the elections, everything is going great, everything is going dandy. And in the end of 2024, beginning of 2025, it starts going down. What will that do to most people? Get them wrecked. What does statistics say? 85% of investors get wrecked, 95% of traders get wrecked. It just makes sense. Now, can this not happen? Sure, it cannot happen, okay? But we need to strategize and take this into account. And if nobody's taking this into account, that's when we need to pay more attention. And right now, most people are not taking this into account, right? So that's what I'm looking at. There's a few other things, of course, different charts, different historical charts. Can't get into them now, but it's there. Bitcoin ETF reflecting the rotation into alts. So the people putting money into the Bitcoin ETF probably won't go into alts straight away. And if they do, it's going to be the very top ones because they're ETF buyers. And the money won't come from them into alts in most part. It will come from the people in crypto seeing this, taking advantage of this, and getting greedy and getting into alts. Now, why am I saying greedy? Because markets run with fear and greed. That's all markets are, fear and greed, okay? As a matter of fact, technical analysis, pretty much that's what it measures, psychology. It's a psychological measure, believe it or not. So people are going to see the use of the Bitcoin ETF narrative, see the money coming in, and will be able, and I would say may even get more of an alt rally in that regard. Well, new money is coming into Bitcoin, raising market caps all over the board. So I don't think it's going to stop having an alt season, or alts are not going to do as well. That might change with regulation in the future, although I do think it's going to take some time and we'll still have greed. There will be coins that you can get into and make more because there's greed factor, and there's people always find a way. But generally speaking, yeah, it's probably going to do the same thing. Although it won't trickle from Bitcoin ETF, but like from Bitcoin's not an ETF, and people having money on the sidelines making money from altcoins, if that makes sense. All right. Stocks, S&P 500, NASDAQ may top by March 1, and then huge crash is expected. How does this change your outlook for 24, 25? It doesn't really change in the sense that we can have a crash and then go back up, right? So, and this usually happens. Now, let me tell you something. A lot of people don't know this, but if this is your first bull market or two, understand that Bitcoin will still drop in bull markets. We'll still have a 20, 30% drop in Bitcoin within a bull market. It's just that it's bought up faster, right? And it just continues going upwards on the trend. So if we have a stock market crash in March, it may be that so will cryptocurrency. And then because of the halving and everything in the narrative and so on, we'll start going up. Something you also have to keep in mind, though, is the Bitcoin ETF has opened up. Mike, thank you for joining us, man. Glad you can make it. So the Bitcoin ETF, you have to understand, a lot of people think it's a sell the news event. And yes, we did have people taking profits, but you have to understand, it's kind of funny because most people are buying, most hedge funds are buying crypto right now, Bitcoin right now. The issue is that most people in Grayscale, which was the biggest one, are selling Bitcoin. Why? Well, first of all, 1 billion of that is FTX. They're liquidating on the market so they can pay whatever they need to pay, which makes sense. The rest of the people have realized that the premium of Grayscale is much lower than the premium of other Bitcoin ETFs. Now, what's going on is they had a premium and they were benefiting all this time, but now it doesn't make sense. So they're selling Grayscale. Now, as they're selling Grayscale, the price of Bitcoin is going back, so they're waiting. Why should they flip to another ETF straight away? They're waiting, and they'll do that later. So they may be dropping the price down to get it cheaper so they can get even more money once they get into another ETF. Does that make sense? So they're amplifying and compounding their profits here. But it's not a sell the news event, because people are buying. It's just that we have that thing involved, right? That play involved. Now, that said, a sell the news event would be something when you are selling something, you're buying the rumor and you're selling the news because there's no more news after that. So it's a sell the news event. But so Bitcoin futures was a sell the news event. Everyone was waiting for Bitcoin futures, and then they sold because they marked the top of the market in 2000, the prior bull market, the one before that. But the Bitcoin ETF is very different than the Bitcoin futures, because in the Bitcoin ETF, you have to hold the underlying asset. That's why everyone's buying Bitcoin, BlackRock, and so on. Not only that, but the Bitcoin ETF births something else that people are missing, which is more news. What is the more news? People, pension funds getting into Bitcoin, now available. Money managed, now they can sell Bitcoin. 401ks can now be put into Bitcoin. This was not possible or didn't make sense before. So while we have a Bitcoin ETF, we're also birthing new news events. So we're going to soon see a new buy the rumors, and it still won't be a sell the news event. It doesn't make sense. The Bitcoin ETF is a big deal. People don't realize it. People think it's gone down, and they don't realize how big it is. And that's when the market's going to start going up, and that's when people are going to be left sidelined, all the bears and so on. And this happens every single time because, again, everybody was expecting more for the Bitcoin ETF. It gave less, but it's going to give it when people at least expect it, which most people get wrecked. And that's why I'm a contrarian. And this is why my trading strategy revolves around most people being wrong, not necessarily me being right. I don't know if that makes sense. I hope I articulated that properly. But generally speaking, we are extremely bullish. Also, if there's a market crash in March or whatever, it might take a few months to play out. We also have elections coming up, so this might be trained or trailed, if you will, to later on. And don't forget, stock markets just go boom. Sometimes they do, but like in most part, they go slowly down and go up. So we have time. Does that make sense? That's the way I see it anyway. Now, also you have to understand that in crypto, a lot of people get bearish, and I just want to put this in there to add to the ETF narrative, but also add to a few more things. You have to understand that in traditional markets, a 20% drop is considered the beginning or a bear market. But 20% drop in Bitcoin is a Tuesday for us, right? It's just another Tuesday. So a lot of people are going to get panicked and getting spooked out. This drop of 49 to 40K is huge for retail and TradeFi, but it's nothing for us. We were used to this. So this is how we can take advantage and actually front run for once the stock market and people that are not into crypto. We have the advantage here. We have a huge advantage. All right, let me drink some soda and I'll answer more questions. Put your questions in the chat if you have any. Please rank your bullishness on Sol, Injective, Cas, Tau compared to each other. Okay. So I can't really rank my bullishness in the sense that I try to keep emotion out of it. I know I'm a very emotional guy. That's because it's the Greek in me, right? But generally speaking, I'm bullish on different things for different reasons. So Solana I'm bullish on because I told you my price expectations for Solana earlier on. So obviously that's good in profits, but also I'm bullish because I think Solana needs to make a move, and also the airdrops I was talking about earlier on. Injective protocol, I don't expect it to go much higher. And if it does go much higher, there are going to be other cryptocurrencies that are going to go higher than Injective. But again, the airdrops from Injective protocol I'm bullish on. So a lot of people might buy Injective and buy Solana for the airdrops later on and not so much for the profit margin. That's how the price can go even higher than your calculated expectations, if that makes sense. Then you have Cas. I'm actually bullish on Cas. I think Cas is going to go to 92 cents. So I think it's very good profit, and it can even get to $1.28. That's my range. That's my first range. Remember how I made a range of Bitcoin, 84 to 140? My range for Kaspa is 92 to 128. That does not mean it can't go higher, but that's when I expect a pullback. I want to see how it responds, see if it's worth buying back lower or waiting to see if it goes higher, because sometimes it makes sense buying higher, and I'll explain that in a second if you want, but generally that's what I'm looking at. As for Tau, I don't have any opinion on Tau. Unfortunately, there's something I can't look into everything. Tau is one of them I just didn't look into. And as for is buy and hold DCA, take profit into Bitcoin, the strategy of altcoins, what is the max number of altcoins one should have? Okay. Okay, that's a long one. All right, so the way I do it, I have my buy and hold for Bitcoin and Ethereum. Let's say I recently, a year ago, also added Solana to that. That is my untouched long-term years hold through bear market, whatever account. But generally speaking, right now, I wouldn't do DCA. DCA is dollar cost averaging. I don't like DCAing. Okay, I know that sounds weird. I like DSAing. If you don't know what DSAing means, I actually coined the term. It's called dollar swing averaging. So I look for swings. You could call them dips, but they're usually prior swings, prior lows, and it's a bit more technical. But generally speaking, the best way to do it whenever the market dips is more of a buy the dip strategy. Okay? So I prefer to do that. If Bitcoin's at 40K and it goes to 45K, I'm not buying at 45K. I'd rather it go to 50K, come back down to 46K and buy it even though it's higher, because I can see that swing and I know my entries. It's just more makes sense. And if it goes lower, even better, then it goes to the low 40s. So it's pretty much DCAing within DCAing, right? But my strategy is, if you looked at my strategy when altcoins were going crazy, I was saying put them into Bitcoin. Then when altcoins drop, when Bitcoin drops, you can use Bitcoin to buy altcoins. And that's what we were doing. So yes, I exchange altcoins into Bitcoin over time, but then on drops, I'll use that Bitcoin to buy the dip so I don't have to put fresh money into the system. And then obviously by the end of 2024 and 2025, the strategy changes, because then you have to start taking profits generally in as well, not just into Bitcoin. Okay? So if that makes sense, that's what I do. Max number of altcoins, it goes up. You might say I'm going to have maximum 10 altcoins. It's going to become 20. The trick is to look which ones perform and how they perform and start narrowing down and convert from one coin to another, depending on the performance and your expectations of that coin. So when you see certain coins outperforming and you do your analysis and you see, okay, these are going to probably take a while for them to go up, take those coins and put them into other coins. That's what I did with Heather Hash Graph. I called that. That's what I did with Atom. That's definitely what I did with XRP back in the day. That's what I did with ADA. That's what I did with Sandbox. I did that, and I got into other coins that outperformed them, which I, again, talked about. Solana. What was the other one? Kaspa was one of them at the time, and so on. Do you have a price prediction for SAY? I don't have a price prediction for SAY, except that I'm holding SAY for the potential airdrops, and then I'll take whatever profits come. Now, you have to understand that a lot of people have these price predictions, but they have price predictions. There's a way to price predict, okay? And you can say a 2x from all-time highs. But if a coin has no price history and it's a new coin, you can't not only do a price prediction, there's no technical analysis, because your technical analysis is not valid because there's no price history. So a lot of people do this technical analysis on all these new coins or newer coins. It's bullshit. It's just a rough estimate. If Bitcoin takes a dump, there's no technical analysis there. That's why everyone's a genius in the bull market. Right? Because the price goes up anyway, they look like geniuses, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So when I only chart Bitcoin and then try to see what prediction I can give for the rest of the coins. That's why you see me. I don't have a prediction for XAY. I don't have a prediction for this. I don't have a prediction for that. I do have a prediction for Solana because I have price history. I have previous all-time highs, and it's been around for a while, which makes sense. Right? And even then, it's not a full price prediction, it's ranges. What's my range in Solana? All-time highs was 250. So what's double that? 500. Usually it'll be a little bit more than double if it breaks previous all-time highs around 600 to 700. I know this sounds simple, but that's what I do. And then I reevaluate on that range and see if it could 2x and if it can do more and why. Then you start looking a little bit into fundamentals and so on, right? So, or macros or whatever. So generally speaking, you see a lot of these TA YouTube videos, right? And they do TA every single day on every single coin. They're either lying to you or they're lying to themselves. First of all, there's no technical analysis you can do on a video in 10 minutes on a crypto coin. You just don't do that. You can do an overview. I do overviews on my channel. But when they say they do TA, they're not doing TA because it takes hours and hours to do TA, right? And you need to be concentrated like this. You can't be like talking and doing technical analysis. It just doesn't work. It's stupid. It's impossible. So, but they need to get these videos out. So they think they're doing technical analysis or they're telling you they're doing technical analysis. Now, another thing they do is they do technical analysis every single day. Why? We work in ranges. Day trading, if you're day trading and you're doing TA, you don't have time to make videos. You just don't. You can be the best trader in the world. This is why Tone Vase doesn't trade and he does YouTube videos, and when he does trading, he stops doing YouTube videos because he just can't do it. You have to be on there. Now, that said, when you're day trading, you're going for small profits, but these people are putting out videos telling you coin's gonna go down, this resistance, that, Fibonacci shit, fuck, golden cross. Like, and you're like panicking, but you're not day traders. Yes, the price will go down, the price will go up. So what? You're looking at ranges and long term. If you are not investors, you are swing traders, means you'll take a trade every couple of months. And the best traders in the world with the most profits actually make 2, maybe 3 trades a year. And of course, though, if they tell you this on the channel, this is, I mean, I've done it a couple of times, like, all right, Bitcoin technical analysis, still in the same range, nothing changed from last time. But that's not very good for content. I can't really bring you back for content. So these people do day trading videos for people that don't day trade. And if you didn't know how to day trade, you wouldn't have time to watch these videos. So, but that's what gets the views because of the emotions and the roller coaster, and it makes you think you're doing something. But it's bad for you. You're getting wrecked for that reason. That's why everyone's always wrong. Then, of course, everybody usually remembers when everybody was right, but they forget when everyone's wrong. There's actually in psychology as well. People remember you from your last works, not your prior works. I can prove that to you. Think of your greatest actor, your favorite actor in the world. Think of him. Name me their favorite movie. All right, Arnold Schwarzenegger might be Terminator, for example. Okay, so you remember all their good movies. Do you remember the movies that they sucked in? No. And you don't remember the wrong calls from traders. You just remember the good ones. So anyway, you gotta be a little bit emotionless and try not to chase after all these, I kind of lost my train of thought here, technical analysis videos. They just don't apply on new coins, and they certainly don't apply every day for day traders. It doesn't make sense for you to watch day trading videos every day, which is what most YouTubers out there do. Look at real traders. They don't have technical analysis videos every day. Look at Alessio Rastani. He puts out a video every 1 week or 2 weeks. And it applies for the rest of the time. Same thing with CTO Larson. He has the Larson line. If you listen to his videos, the analysis is exactly the same as the previous ones. He just explains different things and different thought processes, which is what I do. I have my range. It's like, we don't do day trading videos every day. It's simple. It's complete horseshit. I'll be quite honest. I'll be quite open with you. Do you think near-term bottom for Bitcoin will be 30,000? I don't think so. It's possible, but it's not probable, in my opinion. Maybe we go down to the 35K-ish level, but let's see if we bottomed out. If we break it, the next level is around 34, 35K. Let's see what happens. I don't think it's going to reach the 30K psychological. If it reaches the 30K psychological, it will either be a little bit above or a little bit below, if that makes sense. Let's see, though. Let's see what happens. Why am I bullish on Kaspa? It seems to be a competitor with Bitcoin. So I'm not. Kaspa is absolutely no competitor to Bitcoin. It's two different things because DAGs may be faster and superior in some regard, but the problem is that DAGs are more vulnerable and susceptible to hacks. I know that sounds weird, but it's true. It's also a new technology. There's no proof of concept, and also it doesn't have sound hard money principles. Why doesn't it have no sound hard money principles? Because it's cheap. And you're gonna say, Paul, but that's a problem with Bitcoin, the high fees, and it's expensive to mine. No, that's a feature. That's actually good. So let me explain what I mean here. So if you look at the history of money, right? If you look at the history of money, of how money works, you'll see that at some point we actually had seashells. Seashells was currency. Now, these seashells, it sounds funny to you right now because it's like seashells, you can just pick them off the beach. But these seashells were used by tribes and people that it was very hard to get these certain types of seashells or were far away from waters, right? So they were limited in supply and expensive and hard to get. They were rare, okay? So once these tribes were discovered by different people, they wanted to trade with these tribes. They wanted to trade with gold, whatever. The tribes didn't give a shit about that. They wanted seashells. And seashells were working for over 1,000 years. But when these other people that were more technologically advanced came in, they started bringing seashells to trade. Suddenly, guess what happened? Inflation. Because seashells were more easy to obtain. So when something cost one seashell, now it costs two seashells, and so on. So that pretty much destroyed that system. Then you had another system. For example, there was a tribe would have a big rock in the middle, or boulder in the middle of the let's say village, a huge one. We're talking about like small, like a huge one, like it's impossible to move. And then they would have smaller rocks representing the value of that big rock. That also worked. Anyway, over time, these tribes, they got more technologically advanced. It was easier to get these seashells and so on, which pretty much caused inflation. Then we go into gold for the gold standard. Now, not the gold standard, sorry, into gold. So with the Roman Empire, they had gold coins and they were thriving. But what happened was, as emperor started coming out, they wanted more money. They wanted to buy more things to fund the wars and so on. So what they started to do is take away the gold from each coin and replace it with other metals, which made the gold less in each coin, which also caused what? Inflation. And that's what's happening with fiat right now. They're printing more money. It's causing inflation. With Bitcoin, that's impossible to do because Bitcoin has a max supply of 21 million Bitcoin. And there's the halving and the algorithm and the math. So Bitcoin being expensive to mine is actually a feature, because if gold was not expensive to mine, guess what would happen? Everybody would go mine gold. But when gold price goes up, it makes more sense to bring those equipment and start spending money to mine that gold, because now you have a bigger margin. And once there's more gold in the system, guess what happens? Gold becomes less expensive. So now this equipment is too much money, so they stop mining for gold, and it's self-regulated. Do you see it? So Bitcoin being expensive to mine is a feature of sound hard money. All right. So now Kaspa, yes, it's faster. It also has a max supply, so on, but it's very different in that regard, and it's proof of concept to also take an account of, right, or account to. So that's why you see me saying Bitcoin is king. And that's why you keep on hearing me say, if you want to get rich, you get rich from altcoins. But if you want to get wealthy, accumulate Bitcoin, right? Whew, give me a second. Let me drink some EV soda water while I look at your questions. So the reason the Litecoin didn't work out is because Litecoin was kind of like a test net for Bitcoin. Things would come out on Litecoin first and then be implemented on Bitcoin later. And it was also cheaper to send Litecoin. So when we had Bitcoin back in the day, we wanted to send Bitcoin somewhere, we would exchange it into Litecoin, change it to another exchange, and then over there, put it back into Bitcoin. Now with SegWit or since SegWit, this is not really the case anymore. By the way, the gold standard, you didn't go around with gold coins shopping for cigarettes, right? Didn't make sense. You'd have gold reserved, right? And then banknotes would represent a portion of that gold. That's kind of what happened with the rocks representing the big boulder, right? So it's the same thing, it's just redone. Are the most bullish narratives for this bull run gaming and AI? So yes and no. Let me say why. Because it's too easy. Everyone is concentrating on gaming, then AI, mostly gaming and AI, and those will go up and they will do great returns. The problem is it's too easy. So there must be some shit we're missing. This is just the way I work, contrarian. And I do think that there's a Bitcoin narrative for the ordinals and everything being built on Bitcoin. And there's right now there's the airdrop narrative. We'll see if that continues or not. But gaming, yes, it will be very profitable. So will AI. But we have to see if there's going to be other narratives that we miss, which just it makes sense. Maybe it's a trend stack of the two. Am I concerned about Mt. Gox's Bitcoin payouts? No, because I just look at price. Price talks, everything else walks. Will they pay out? Yeah. Will they? Some people sell. Yeah. Will there be more demand? Probably. When is it going to Mt. Gox sellouts? Price. So a lot of people, they look at the news. I have a saying: show me the price, I'll tell you the news, or show me the charts and I'll tell you the news, because you can see moves in the charts before, in most part, than the news. See, there's news for the classes and news for the masses. We only get news for the masses. We don't get news for the classes. The closest we can get is charting. Show me the charts, I'll tell you the news. If Bitcoin bottom at 30K, then when do you see, where do I see Solana bottom will be? I can't answer that question. We don't know. But if Bitcoin goes down 20%, I see Solana down 30% to 40 at least. Same goes with everything else. There'll be a few outliers, but those are the ones we need to watch for the next run after, because obviously they won't drop as much. It'll make sense getting into them. All right. Guys, this was so cool. It was amazing. I wish I had more people talking and more interaction, but this was our first so exclusive Zoom meeting that we've ever had. We're going to be doing this monthly. I'm not sure about the dates yet, but basically this is it. You can ask questions. We can talk one-on-one. I would love to have a more interactive session next time with more people. It will be more fun because there's different questions that different people ask that you may not think of. But when somebody else asks it, you get the answer to that question. It bursts new questions. It's quite amazing. So I had super fun. We'll do this again. We'll do this again in about a month. Not sure about the date yet, but this is supposed to be monthly. If you're a VIP member, a VIP Factor member, then this is a monthly session. Let me just stop the recording.